Hey, welcome to the channel where this week we are going to give you the 6 things to think about when designing or thinking about your landscape and what you want to think about as you are creating the plan for this specific part of your house, or even if it's the whole yard, like the whole house. So let's get right into it. You should also know that I just make videos about this design and everything that kind of has to do with it and what to think, ideas that will work for different areas. So let's get right to it. The first one is going to be create an overall plan. Now, what does that mean in itself? So you want to make sure that you think through what you really want before you start working. Things like considering, the style, use, and even budget. There tends to be this idea that you have to have super crazy ideas, super crazy parts of your yard, and many people go to parts of the internet, Pinterest, Instagram, and so forth and so on, and get this crazy ideas but don't have the budget for it. So keep in mind, realistically speaking, how much you really want to spend and what those needs will be for those areas. So now that you kind of have this, I will jump to number 2. I should say that I will be breaking more of this down in future videos to give you even more information as to what you want to look for when you are thinking of either you have a new area, maybe a new home that you're moving into, or you're thinking of maybe redesigning your front yard or backyard. Anyways, let's get to number 2. Analyze the site. So you want to carefully review the property and the existing environmental factors such as the land contours, vegetation, drainage, soil compactation, and microclimates. So one of the things that you want to think about this is that even though you may live in an area where maybe mostly there's a lot of water because of rain, moisture, or maybe an area where there's a lot of desert-like traits, you always want to make sure that your area where your house is at, things will work for you. And in many parts of the country, there's going to be areas where there's a lot of hills, mountains, and some will be more flat. So you definitely want to know what is going to work best for you. You'll go online and you'll look for trees and shrubs that are supposed to be for your area, but some just don't do it. So what can you do in this regard? Well, contacting your local nursery will be a great idea. They will know what shrubs will work the best for your area. They'll tell you if you are in maybe the part, the north, the south, the east, west of your city. There's a good chance that they're going to know somewhat as to what will work and maybe even some soils. So that is going to be one great thing to do. Now, the next thing is setting goals and objectives. Defining your goals of the project and what you want to achieve with them. So a lot of the times people just want to redo the front or back just for that. But you definitely want to know what is going to be the most appealing for you guys. So if you are wanting to have the front yard looking very nice so when your friends come over, that's fine. That is in itself a goal. Or maybe having an area in the backyard to sit down. Maybe there's a fire pit, maybe a water feature, maybe other things. That in itself is a goal, and you want to define those things. Where you are wanting to have your friends over. Is it in the front of the house because you have a great view of the city? Maybe there's mountains, maybe there's water like a lake or even the sea. You want to make sure that you have those goals first and then how to achieve them. This sounds pretty simple, and it generally is pretty simple, but sometimes you are overwhelmed, or most people are overwhelmed and they don't know what to look for. So those are some ideas as to what you want to look for and how to define those things. Maybe focus most of your funds in the back maybe of the house, the property, or the front of the property where you are going to be able to be there or maximize that area. Let's go to number 4. Solve problems. You want to identify any problems with the landscape such as erosion, poor drainage, or access, and develop the strategies for addressing them. Now, a lot of the times you will move into a new home or a home that already has a landscape, and sometimes because whoever lived there first decided to do some crazy stuff, and now water is staying there or not draining properly, or maybe there's a lot of just untouched soil and there's erosion. You definitely want to tackle that as well. And a lot of the times you will notice that when there's a big downpour, and that's obviously not a good thing. So what can you do? Well, unfortunately not much when you're in the thick of the storm, but what you can do is after, be proactive and seeing how you can fix this. A lot of the times you are going to need to contact a professional to let you know what would be the best course of action, and some of those will include to remove some of the material that's already existing there and create swells, or even install French drains to get the water away from the property itself, the foundation of the house. If you have a basement, regardless of what it is, you still don't want water to stay in a spot that's standing water is never a good thing. So that is going to be one of the things to think about when you're walking around your property, especially if you are about to buy the house. That's one thing that you're gonna want to just walk around. And if you don't have any experience with this, it's going to be harder, of course. So that's where I would definitely encourage for you to look for a professional, and they will help you out, let you know what is going on and if water is moving away from the house. Now, if there's other things that you want to do after that matter, that's fine, but make sure that you are thinking about the erosion and drainage of the surrounding area of your house. So the next one, design elements. So you want to incorporate features such as pathways, decks, patios, water features, so forth and so on. And that is great. Similar to the earlier one that I mentioned about setting your goals. Now that you kind of have goals, then you can kind of get to number 5, which is, okay, I want to focus in the backyard, and this is what would be the best for me or my likes. So maybe I want a fire pit because in the area that I'm living, maybe it's gonna get cold and I'm gonna be outside with my friends. Or maybe I want some hanging lights, maybe having some poles and having some hanging lights where we can kind of sit outside and kind of have a good time. Those are going to be some of those elements that you're going to want to think about. Once you know where you want those main spots to be, then you can focus on these features, those design elements. Maybe having a pathway that goes from the side of the house to the back of the house, so when you have friends, it's easier for them just to kind of walk right behind versus going through the house, because I don't know, that just makes it better. More flowiness to the overall design. It's not that I don't know, I'm just giving you that info that it is really just easier if you have a pathway that goes from the, say, maybe driveway and it goes to the back of the house. Or this will also help you with maintenance purposes, such as if you have an area of sod in the back and you want to mow it, but also in the front, you're going to want to go from point A or front to back. So again, an idea for a pathway, but then as well, you're going to want to think about where would be the best spot for a fire pit or even a water feature. So that would be the design elements. Now the last one is going to do with more shrubbery plant selection. Of course, this one is going to be tied to the area where you live and the climate that you have. Once you kind of know your climate, if it's very windy, if it's very dry, if there's like a lot of water and so forth and so on, even your soils, you are going to be able to select your trees and shrubs depending on the colors that you prefer. And even if there are things that you don't want, things like may have thorns or attract more bees, those are the things that you are going to be doing more or less at the end, just because the other things do have to come first. At least in my opinion, they do come first, and this is going to be more on the last. Even though it is important, you definitely want to make sure that once you have that, then you can get like the trees. And at the same time, now that you know where water is going to run, you wouldn't want to put a tree where it's going to get drowned by so much water if there's a lot of rain. So once you know like where the path of the water is, then you're going to be able to adjust, say, your shrubbery or your trees and so forth. At the same time, you're going to be able to pick how big you want them, the color, if there's any flowers of them, or if there are evergreens, if they're broad evergreens, or if they're just ground covers. Those are the things that are going to be more or less last, that you can connect and overall have a good plan for your landscape. So those are the 6 things that you want to think about when you are thinking of designing your future landscape project. Let me know what you guys think about in the comments. Let me know if there's something that you want me to spend more about in a future video of mine. Maybe I can talk about maybe 1 or 2 in more details, because there is a lot to talk about, and sometimes it is good to have those ideas first and then get to working, which you definitely want to do, but you definitely want to know that you are in the right path. So that is it for the video. Put your comments below. Let me know what else I should talk about. And of course, don't forget the motto here, which is Dream Design Create. And thank you. If you want to do all that fancy stuff that YouTubers ask, that'd be great too. Thank you. Bye.